You're about to watch a case study with my client Dylan, where we go over how he was able to go from 15K per month to over 97K per month in the first 3 weeks of working with me. We go over things like how to maximize the amount of money that you're getting from your existing clients, how to 5x your client capacity, and really how to get the most out of the offer that you already have. And the other thing about this, which is really crazy, is that Dylan only works 3 days per week. And so we talk about how he's able to do all this stuff in such a short amount of time and still be able to enjoy his life. In the second half of the case study, we go over his super special cold DM process, which is what he actually teaches his clients. And funnily enough, it's what he also does himself to get his clients. And it's called the white rabbit method. And Dylan is extremely transparent in exactly what to do, what to say, who to say it to, when, and how. And if you just watch the case study and you're paying attention, you'll be able to apply the white rabbit method directly into your business and see an increase in the amount of sales calls that you're booking and also, of course, that you're closing. So there's a lot of value inside of this. I hope you enjoy it. And if you get value from this, feel free to comment down below what your biggest takeaway was. And if you want value similar to Dylan, of course, you know what to do. Click the link in the description, and I'll see you on the other side. Take care. When we first started working together, as you were quietly and very methodically crafting all of this, your business was cruising at around like 15 to 20K per month. And 3 weeks later, after we started working together, you catapulted to 91K for the end of the month. So let's talk about like what specifically caused that.
Yeah. You so it was after I had like a pretty bad like couple months before that. Um just mentally, relationships, like it really I like what Ty Lopez says is out of the ashes you will rise. Like I really did grind away at this thing to create like actually I believe I want to create something really like a like a work of art, right? I believe that I was attracted to your program because it's you have a system to get people a result. And I've already like kind of known about like I know there's like results and check boxes and things you got to get them through. But really like seeing you kind of gave me permission to like, hey, you have permission to sit down and build your program. And so I spent the first week doing no sales. I just built the program and I actually finished like the program I was building and turned it into a pipeline, which got me an understanding of, oh, I got to get little results that add up to a big result. Then when I had that, I had like an organization. I had all the videos. It basically, it's kind of like the big, like, okay, if you buy a little restaurant and you have a little space, you're going to get that many customers. If you buy the big restaurant, you're going to find a way to fill it with customers. So I have this systems now to basically be able to fulfill on 100 clients a month without my a lot of work from myself. Before I was spending a lot of time with clients and I was swinging back and forth like go bring in a bunch of clients, go help the clients. Bring in a bunch of clients, go help the clients. But I built something that runs itself and then I sat down, I put my sales hat on, and I grabbed my setter and I grabbed my VA and I said, we're gonna go to business. And like setters out sending or VAs out sending DMs, setters handling them. The white rabbit method came perfectly, perfect timing. We were doing like 10, 20 calls a week, and I was closing about 50 to 60%. So we were like half the calls a week, are closing and we closed 11 deals and that's 91,097 dollars. Then I got to go back through the numbers because I might have tracked wrong because I thought it was 93,000 somewhere. And so I was like, I could have sworn it was 93. But anyways, um it we took off because I actually had some one you when your program's good, your confidence is really high. Like when your program's like what you built, like and like if they go through it, they're gonna have like it's literally a business in a box. Like they can just plug in the sickest systems, the right SOPs. Like we standardized like how to hire a setter and teach them the process, and we have a process that works really well. And then the second thing was no you and you have the whole like what was the computer science thing
The highest value client matrix.
no, the intimate, you had a word for it. It's the like
Oh,
the
min-maxing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you that's the way you coach. You have it. You're like you have a flick of the wrist approach where you're like, I'm gonna find the one thing, and you're like, it's very simple, and it's not like overwhelming amount of stuff. Because like I think as the business owners you work with, we're like high six figures, seven-figure earners, even eight-figure earners are coming to you, and you're
Yep.
spotting one problem, and and this is gonna lead to my what I actually think the deficit is in the market topic. Um, the basically you spotted you're like you got to do this now. I did it. And also I did everything you fucking said. I don't do the whole like I'm going to argue with the coach, like just listen. Like I hate when people like don't fucking I don't understand it. Like go I say go do 100 DMs a day and I'm like and I hear no, I'm going to do a podcast. Like all right, well go fucking crash. Like you're going to crash. Like that's your option and the data says, you know? So I just listened.
I mean, what you did in 3 weeks, I've had, people either never accomplish, or if they did, it took a team of, like, no exaggeration, 20 people over the course of 8 to 12 months to finish it. Um, there's a lot to be said about that for sure. And
Yeah,
like you said, it really is pretty simple.
it is.
It's made simple. It is simple for a reason because simple is
Yes.
what we need.
Yes, your $20,000 a month business doesn't need a team of 20. I think what people do is they're doing that because it makes them feel like a CEO. And they go, yeah, let me go talk to my CMO. And I'm like, dog, you're at 20,000 a month. You have a CMO, you have an operations manager, you have a fucking full-time closer.
Yeah.
Dude, what do you guys make? $1 a month? Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Right? And so Uh, and then one thing you said to me is like the first call, you're like, "Here's what your problem is. You're playing small," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna play big." And I think there's a lot of like risk in just because I think before I had went through something pretty traumatic, and I was like, I kind of don't, I'm not afraid anymore. Like whatever. Fucking like FTC come out, like whatever. Like I just bring it on. And I kind of went boldly into the market. And I think the biggest reason why people don't grow is that they're doing the productive procrastination. They're not going and confronting their prospects and telling them that you got a problem, you need to be in my program now. That's how you're gonna grow your business. You're gonna grab people by the scruff of the neck. You're gonna say, "Give me your fucking credit card. My money's better, or your money's better in my hands." Because you're misusing it and misplacing it, and you need to get in this program and grow your fucking business. And like that was just the attitude I came at it with. And me and my team went like we played the game. Like we were just like, all right, well, you got another one. My setter didn't sleep, dude. Like we were just like raking the clients, right? And I think what most people do is like they're either above sales, they're like I want to hire it out, outsource everything, and they lose a lot of control of their business because they're not they know they're not good at it, and the real thing they need to do is get some fucking training and do the thing that they should be doing. So one thing that really helped was like I knew now I have a coaching process and I have a process in my business to where if I can go throw a bunch of clients in and they won't tank as soon as they join the program and they'll make their payments. And I think that was like super big. And then the whole like, you're just playing small. I'm like, well fuck, all right. I don't like being challenged, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna show him. And I'm also like, I'm not gonna be the smallest guy in your community. I'm gonna outsell everyone in your community. Like that's my that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, we got 8-figure entrepreneurs in there, so we
Yeah,
have
I know.
a nice healthy mix there. Um, one of the things that came up for me, I mean, we've had, like, as far as, like, from my experience of, helping coach and everything, um, the actual work that we did together was like 3 or 4 coaching calls in that 3-week period where things really
Yeah, it was
took
three
off.
calls and then your group
We
calls.
audited the business. That's when we identified the root cause, which was you were holding yourself back. That's what it came down to ultimately,
Yeah.
right? So, playing small, but you weren't letting yourself do what you needed to do. And so it was just like a simple coaching conversation there. And we talk about this a lot, right? How, like, one transformative conversation can legitimately change somebody's life. We had one of those. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just an honest, loving conversation.
And one thing I want to add is you ask questions. You don't tell people.
Oh
And
yeah, of
that
course.
is
Yeah, that's
what
yeah.
gets, because it has to be my idea. And any real hardworking, prideful guy needs to make it their own idea. And if you can spot it and you can ask questions and you can coach properly and then make it their idea, they'll fucking take off because now it's their own self-determinism, right? When it's before, what happens is people, like I go into these coaching programs and they're just like forcefully causing creating robots out of
Yep.
people. Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah,
add
and yeah, and we can talk about that later too, like how to actually coach, right? And so
that.
that was call number one. We did the audit, identified the root cause, you were holding yourself back. Call number two, we created your client journey. Well, actually, you did most of it, right? I just walked you through what a client journey actually is, walked you through the process of actually engineering this, because that's really what's happening here is we're engineering a high value client experience that generates results and back-end conversions on autopilot. That's the outcome that we're shooting for. And whereas before, like the kind of the typical approach is you kind of just put a bunch of information inside of your program and you kind of hope that the clients
Like he had it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they pick at it, and then what ends up happening is, a spiral, right? So if you're moving forward in a spiral, it feels like you're moving forward, but in actuality, you're kind of just swirling around a
That was
drain.
literally me.
Yeah, and so that's what was happening with you, and that's what was happening with your clients as well. And that's what happens in every other coaching program as well. And so there's this illusion of progress because there is this forward
Fuck.
movement, but it's going in the spiral and it's going down into a black hole, actually, and people stay stuck. And so what we did by engineering this client experience is we set a target. And it's there's a lot of tactics on how you specifically define what the outcome of your program is. It's not as straightforward as people think it is of just saying like, oh, 10K per month or whatever. Sure. But there
Yeah.
is criteria that needs to be met in order to actually designate what the target is. We did that for you. And then we reverse engineer what the action steps are that need to happen from the very end of your program all the way back to the beginning of once someone is on your first sales call. We touched on it very briefly earlier in the conversation about how the the very first message that you send to your clients is actually like it's the first touch point is the moment that the client experience actually starts.
Yeah.
And every single thing that happens leading up to that sale and then from the sale into the program has a consequence. It can be a positive consequence or a negative one. And so, we've made sure that the sales process is congruent with the actual target at the end of the program. And once you understand that, things tend to self-correct in an interesting way. Now, once the action steps are defined from the program perspective, we created milestones, so checkpoints that people actually go through
Yeah.
that we can measure. And then from there, what's built on top of that is a sales pipeline. And the sales
Yes.
pipeline simultaneously allows us to track the coaching progress and also drive back end conversions. Conversions of what? Referrals, testimonials, case studies, community engagement, wins posted, uh, upsells, downsells, and continuation offers. And by creating this structure, this engineered high value client experience, we now actually have a thing that allows us to do that. And like you said as well, like what is that done for every area of your business, right? I think there's this,
Yeah. I already got some brewing.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. It's because a bunch of clients popped into my mind while you were saying that of what we did. Like the results were predictable. Like they join. Then they're going to do this, then they're going to do this, then they got to get that result. So, two clients specifically came in. One was starting at zero. No, three clients specifically came in. Two were starting at zero. One was starting at 7,500 a month. 7,500 a month to 30,000 a month. Zero to 10,000 a month. Zero to 6,000 a month. Right? Cool. There we've all hit our cash target because because now clients join with numbers in mind, and I can just look at their numbers and then it'll spit out how many DMs you need to do every day to hit that target. Oh my god. Now every 30 days they hit a number. Then what we do is we take a bit of that cash and we put it towards a setter, and then they were all hiring setters. Boom, boom, boom. Then setters go into the program, we train them up, ramp them up, and then they get to a number. And then they're all scaling month one, two, three. Now here's what this did for the business. Another thing you pointed out was I forgot this. I was doing a 12-month program. I condensed all that into 3 months. Now my fulfillment in my time is how many months? 7, 8, 9 months cut off from that. Now I don't have to give 9 months extra of work, right? That's like whoa. And then another thing was my biggest bottleneck was my accounts
Well,
receivables.
let's pause there for a quick
Yeah.
second. So why did we need to cut it down, right? We asked the critical question, how long does it actually take to reach the target that we're shooting for here? Does it take 12 months? And the answer
Yes.
was no.
Yes.
And so we simply changed it.
Yeah. It was like what, 3 months? Actually 2 months, really.
Yeah, it's 2
Uh,
months. Yeah.
yeah.
And then there's an
So
extra month of breathing room.
right, because most payment plans were 3 pays. That's why.
Yeah.
So like, and I was realizing like we were actually doing too much. I
Yep.
actually had a program before this. So it was a ridiculous amount of information. It was
Yep.
overwhelming people, and they were actually getting less results. And then I shortened everything, made everything more punchy, quicker, easier. They got way massive results. And then my client base is actually a higher value client base. 20, 30, $50,000 a month earners joining the program, getting results, building teams. And I'm like, it just everything became a lot easier. That lessened the strain on me as the CEO to go be able to sell and build my sales process and focus on the front end. And we had a backwards approach. We went from the client result approach first, and as opposed to a sales and make money approach. Then our clients would get results, and when our clients get results, all my back end money that is in account. I had 130,000 in accounts receivables. Like we got a lot long 12-month payment plans. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, so hey, you want to pay this in full? You want to pay this in full? Yeah, I totally can. I'm doing 20,000 a month now. Oh, if I would have just focused on my clients, I would have brought in more sales, right?
Yep.
And it's not about time focus on clients. It's about leveraging. And I think what another thing a lot of coaches do is they're very one-on-one with low prices doing one-on-one coaching.
Yep.
And that's dumb, man. Like if you have the intention to scale to $100,000 a month, you need a real process that's like a conveyor belt that anyone can go into and get a result. And then you just need somebody watching the conveyor belt, making sure that it's not steaming and fucking smoking and like, it's not falling apart. And then it's just a matter of like, oh, get him out of he got stuck in the gears. Let's put him back on the conveyor belt. Right? And just like making sure that it's just quality control from there. This is just me checking, and then I'll go back to sales all day. And then checking, go back to sales all day. And I just put another guy on the conveyor belt, and he's like, I'm getting results all by myself. And I'm
Yep.
like, cool, man. It's the big stick that really like it's a really long lever, and that's where you can grow. Now, the second thing is, I don't think it's a trust recession. I absolutely believe it is a love recession in the market
Mm.
because we've like for me when I don't know, I put care into it. I'm not a money hungry coach guy. Like I built this office. Like I put so much care into like the sign and the color scheme, and I want things to look good. I want the feel of the videos to be good. I want my YouTube channel to have like good video editing. And I think when people half-ass their program, they know it. So no, they know it. Like it's not that they're knowing it and they're hiding it and they're saying it's a sales problem or a marketing problem. And I'm like, no, man, like you're selling shit. That's why you won't allow yourself to close somebody. And so it kind of all fed in where you're like, build the program. And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna build a program and I really allowed myself to really close people because I felt really good about closing people. Because nobody like everyone here has had like a pissed off client. You look at your phone and they're like, dude, like I don't like this. Like I don't know, like I feel like the communication's out or something. And they're like, well, can we get on a call? And like your heart kind of sinks. And
Yep.
you're like, well, if I just had and then you have to get on sales calls after that, and then you're gonna like expect you're gonna go really fucking close someone. No.
No, that the energy is in your heart and it
Yeah.
expresses itself in your words, even if it feels and sounds, like it's coming from a high place. It's there's still that like really small tone there in the background that's just like, something's there.
Yes.
Um, so one of the objections that I have received before is people they don't believe that they can create a streamlined process in their program. They think that the reason why they have to do one-on-one calls, to the extent that, and I do think one-on-one calls are important. You just have to place them in the right part of your program and be very mindful about how and when you deliver those. But they think that they're the only person who can deliver the value. I can understand that as well, because when I was running the agency, from my experience, I was the only person who could deliver the value, even though objectively is not true. But I can understand what that's like. And then the experience is like you're dealing with a bunch of clients, and it just feels like they all have these different problems, and you're the only one who can solve them. And so this idea that you can create a streamlined, systematized client experience that just works for everybody that gets into your program doesn't seem like it's possible. Now, what's your experience been like now that you've actually engineered this for yourself?
Yeah, it's good. It doesn't seem like it's possible. Like, well, we live in an age where like I never actually understood the whole like only do one-on-ones and only like I don't know, like I remember there was a limiting belief in the market of I can't do group coaching. I
Yep.
can't facilitate group coaching.
Hmm.
Well, here's the thing is if like there's actually one you everything's a detection of patterns. And so if you detect one thing you're doing that helps people, like doing more of it on repeat where it's like consistent and predictable would actually get more people results. Like it's actually more predictable and like than anyone thinks. Like I think they're I don't know. Um but from my experience, like I know exactly what someone because if you're like you're truly an expert, you know exactly what someone has to do, the very simple 3 steps that they need to take to get to the result. Because like it's like the whole thing of like a plumber. Like they say, oh, like how come you charge so much to like turn a wrench? Well, it's like because I know where to turn the wrench. Like the plumber just like knocks it here and then turns here and it goes fixed, you know.
Yep.
And like that's what a true expert can do, right? And so if also it's a concept of duplication. If you can't take the hat that you have and you wear for your role in your job and give it to somebody else and have them fulfill on it, you actually don't know how to do it because you don't know how to teach it. You don't know how to facilitate and train the skill. So you actually would be you're a better coach or consultant or a business owner if you're able to find somebody and give them kind of wings to fly. Because I think I had the limiting belief too. I'm the only one that can do it. I actually believe there are people out there better than me that I could hire. Um, that I can just give them a little bit of the training and they can take off with it. Right? I mean, just like my setter outset me, man. Like she went and built like a fucking process that crushed. And so
At the very least, if they're not better than you now, they can be.
they can be.
Yeah.
And so this leads to the whole like that love recession thing is I think people started getting into the business for the wrong reasons and they know it. And a business is fully designed to solve a problem in the market. That's what a business does. And it's not the only market that everyone got very money hungry in is this market. It became the result was money. Well, money is love, and if you're gonna like if you're not solving problems and helping people, then you're not loving them. And if the way you want to like think about your clientele is like a money source, well, then you're not gonna make a lot of money, you know. And what happened was people started getting kind of the money eyeballs, and they just started like seeing what's possible, how much money you can make in this game, and no wonder like nobody wants to be around that kind of vibe, right? Nobody likes that vibe, and they're very attracted to that vibe. And if you don't trust somebody else, you're right. The conversation we had is you don't trust yourself. So the reality is, if you can't hire a coach or you can't put it on a video and you can't build a good client experience, you don't trust yourself. And that was like what I learned in your program. Probably the biggest lesson I left with was just like a self trust thing. You gotta trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, others trust you, right? And we have a self-trust recession in the market because that's also the biggest objection. Again, I know, like, I'm trained in like a lot of human interaction, communication, and stuff like that. But when somebody's kind of like, I've been burned in the past, and I don't know, like, I'm not a 10 out of 10 on the program, and I'm like, are you not a 10 out of 10 on this program? Is this a doubt in the program, or is this a doubt on yourself? And they say, well, it's actually a doubt on myself because they're the ones that made the decision to go for that scammy, money hungry program and not the like good one. And they're like, because they're the ones that pulled the trigger. It's always like it's your responsibility. And what happens is when somebody makes a mistake, they have to put the responsibility on somebody else because it's too hard to confront themselves. So they put it on everyone else, and so it has an illusion of a self or trust recession. There's an illusion of a trust recession, but I've never had the experience of buying a program I didn't like. I've never felt scammed, ever. Like, and when I did actually get scammed by somebody with a true scammer, I blamed myself. Like, I gave him love. I'm like, I'm sorry that you're like this. It sucks. That I don't know what happened to you in your life to where you feel it's okay to do that. And because all I know is he's trying to solve a problem and he's in poverty. And that's his way of solving the problem. And it just fuels my fire to like give more people more skills so that they don't do that to others, right? And I think that your your business is there to solve problems, and then the fuel source to make that more accessible to more people is money. It's just what keeps the thing going. So it's kind of like saying making like the gasoline in my truck a the goal instead of the destination of where the truck is going.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of systematic, tactical, strategic tangents we could go down based on the threads that were open there. But the through line in the conversation right now is coming back to self-trust. So you said that was kind of your biggest takeaways so far. I mean, there's stuff that we're continuing to do, building out your back end offer, maximizing your client lifetime value. There's a whole discussion there as well. But being that we've emphasized focusing on root causes so much, I want to keep it there for a moment. So, how, like, this is the thing I think that's unique in what we've been able to develop in the mastermind is that um, we don't just like tell people to just like go trust yourself, bro, or whatever, like go do
Yeah.
affirmations or just like meditate about it. Um, which I mean, meditation is extremely important, but you have to, that's not the like this wasn't a problem that was caused by meditation or a lack thereof. It was
Yeah.
caused by a lack of action. And
It's
so,
caused by mistakes.
yes. And so, what did you learn specifically on how you can build self-trust and how are you carrying that forth into your clients?
Yeah, so like I was basically taking notes on how you coached me and how I can coach my clients. I also still believe like coaching is very important. Like it's like everyone needs it. And I think what have like there's actually people that actually coach for a living complaining about coaches. Like how hypocritical is that?
Yep.
They're like the fucking coaching industry, coaches that coach coaches, blah. And like you're just like, wow, is that your attitude about like your passion, the thing that you do? Like when I see I'm in touch with a good coach, I'm just like, ooh. And I took notes. I have like a whole meeting log with just so many notes. Like I took I took so many notes. But here's where trust comes from. Imagine this. Because what you did was you get on a call with someone, you ask them a question, and because it was my idea and because I it implemented my idea and because my idea worked, I trust myself. Instead of it was Alex's idea, Alex told me what to do. I just did blindly what he told me to do. So now I don't trust myself. So I got to go back to Alex. Now, can that be good for profitability? Like somebody relying on you? Yeah, but that's extremely manipulative and probably not like you're not seeing the higher self of the person. That's something you told me is like you're seeing somebody's higher self and you're just there with a key trying to like fucking unlock it. Right? Now, Afterwards I'm aware enough to where like that was all his idea the whole time. That's a smart motherfucker. And so then what happened is that transcended because in your business, you're a coach for your staff. You're coaching them through it. And
Yep.
so I brought that to my team, and my team was like kind of low, like they were kind of, man, I'm not getting results. And I just asked questions. What do you think you should do? Like they're like, but you won't allow me. I'm not allowed to. I'm like, I never said that. You're like, you have full reign. Go innovate. Go express. Tones through the roof, super happy, and comes up with the White Rabbit script. And then I'm like, you know what? And then what most guys do, they're like, fucking, I take the credit, you know? So I'm like, okay, now let's put her on stage. So I was like, I want you to teach the coaching call. And so the business felt like this, like as cliche as it sounds, like a family where like people are like my staff is getting brighter, they're becoming better people, they're getting better results, like they're in their ideal scene. And then my clients are all doing the same thing where I can ask them questions, have them come up with the solution, and then they implement it, and then they get the fucking result on their own accord, right? And then they can feel like uh like and they did. Like they did do it. They are the one that made the decision to join the program. They are the one that implemented it, and they are the one that got the result. And then that person feels very good about themselves, and they feel very strong, and they're attractive to the market. I think this, especially in the coaching world, you have to be very attractive to the market. And that's not an attractive physically, that's an attractive energetically. People got to like you, right? And if you don't like yourself, then you don't want to. You ever been around somebody who's like hates themselves and they're just dark and like heavy, and you don't want to be around it because it lowers your state. So I believe entirely that like yeah, that's huge. And like that conversation we had about self-trust, I brought it to my clients. I taught a whole like master class on it with them. And I was like, whoa, and it hit me. I had like chills. I was like, and then you brought it to like a universal perspective of like the only reason fear exists is because you don't truly trust. Like you're living in infinity. And like you don't trust that like everything here is like if you fall back, like you're not gonna be caught. Like there, then you're like, it's faith. I was like, dude, that's a mic drop. Like it's fucking faith. Like it's all faith. It's like I have faith that it's gonna happen. And when you live like that, you're just like, fuck, cool, all right, come at me, bro. Like nothing you can do can hurt me. So that was really good.
Yeah, yeah, and recap of what happened, right? Going from, 15, 20K per month to 91, 97. We'll, check the accurate numbers later, but 10x of your business in 3 weeks, that's insane levels of growth. And
Yeah.
we've barely scratched the surface of what actually, is before you right now as far as your actual quest. There's so much stuff that we can continue to build, so much stuff that you need to do still. And I think one of the big, takeaways for me, actually going back to a theme that we've discussed, is this min-max approach. It only takes like one or two things to unlock exactly what you're looking for, right? The amount of money that you're looking for, the amount of client results, the amount of the energy that you're looking for inside of your mind and inside of your body. There's like one or two things that you need to do, and you know what it is. That's always the funny part about it, right? And like the job of a really good coach is you get the clients who know what they need to do, but they don't want to do it. You get them to actually do it. We talked about how like you have a conversation with them that's more of a discovery question-based format that allows them to work through things in a Socratic framework that you facilitate. They come to the conclusion on their own. And also there's an important part in that as well. It's like, yes, in most coaching conversations with my clients, I do know what the answer is before we get into, like the meat of it. However, I'm not going into that conversation assuming that there's an air of curiosity, there's a willingness to be incorrect, and there's a willingness to be on the same side in the same team and figure it out together. And I think that's really, really important because I think when you do start to get client results and things do become consistent, there's a dark side to that as well, where you become complacent and you stop growing and you stay stuck. And it's like you just keep on feeding the same productized template to clients that might have worked for 3, 6, 12 months, but things change, you change, they change, and you got to stay on top of things, right? And so having that willingness to really pay attention, to listen,
Mm-hmm.
to observe the real details, the deeper layers of what's being said and what's not being said, that's a really key thing as well. That's what's going to allow you to be able to drive, results for clients. And so, um, we talked about 10x increase in the business in 3 weeks. I mean, another thing we kind of glazed over a little bit, you 10x your client capacity. I mean, you could only serve, around 10 to 20 clients per
Yeah,
month.
that was the biggest bottleneck.
And then now it's at 100 clients. How much money is 100 clients per month? Per like
Million a month.
a million a month. See, there we go. We did that in 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
so, and that's also represented in, like, we're not even talking about back end revenue as well. That's just the front end revenue,
Yeah.
And so I think one of the key things, the whole thing is helping people scale with the leads and clients they already have. We didn't even touch on the YouTube stuff and, plugging the middle of funnel. There's a min-max approach to that as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
the case study is important, YouTube content, very important if you want to actually leverage that ease that we talked about in the beginning, that if utilized incorrectly can make you complacent, but if it's built on the foundation of what you teach, it's very, very effective in being able to accelerate growth. You've been able to just take, one of those, like the pre-call VSL, improve that. And now
Yeah.
everyone that shows up to the sales calls makes your life easier. You're going to close them anyways because you're good at sales, but it
Yeah.
takes less energy and they show up to the call ready, right? And so, one thing I want to emphasize too, just from a viewership perspective, is that uh, the idea of scaling with the leads and the clients that you already have is this is the easiest path to cash. Like the reason why, like, people are trying to like get more clients, which is very important, by the way. I'm not like an anti-client acquisition. In fact, the exact opposite. Everything I teach and help people do makes that shit way easier.
Yeah.
Like it actually feels fun and effortless, right?
Yes.
So, um, scaling with the leads and clients we already have is very easy. Now on the back end of things, this is, I think, from a math perspective, anyone that's gotten this far, I think just to drive the case home, and this has been mostly a principled and like root cause conversation, but um, when you close someone on the front end and you don't have a highest value client experience that is engineered to drive results on autopilot and backend conversions, you just get one sale. It's like, let's say your program's $10,000. Cool, you get $10,000. If you do everything that we talked about, even just one of the things that we talked about
If they
so
pay
far,
everything up,
if they pay, and you said you had a gigantic accounts receivable, largely due to the size, the length of the program, but for most people, it's that on top of the fact that they're not serving high value clients and they don't have a high value client experience. So people don't want to pay. One principle I emphasize, I feel like on every single call in the mastermind, is if it was worth it for them, they would. And then you just
yes,
fill in the blank. It's
they
so
like are
important.
happy to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if it is worth it for them and we make it worth it by engineering a high value client experience, that one sale of $10,000, if that person sends you, let's say they send you 5 referrals,
Yeah.
that's $50,000 on top of that. If they ascend into the back end, you have, a high ticket, 5-figure back end offer. Um, let's just say, in a different program, let's say it's, 25K.
Yeah.
They ascend to that, that's 25K. We're talking about that one person converting into, what was it, 50 plus 25, 75 plus 10, $85,000 lifetime value.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an exaggeration. That's not unrealistic. That is very normal.
Yes.
Anywhere between 30 to 50% of your clients are going to ascend to that back end offer if you do things properly. And referrals, and we talked about, like, there's a huge discussion how to actually drive referrals. It is, I think, a
Yeah, it
lot
was
more.
huge value you gave, dude.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Yeah. So
Mm.
what was your big takeaway with that?
Wow. Yeah. So it's actually like, because okay, in the beginning of the business, your conversion rate and your ability to drive traffic is gonna be you can't do it to infinitum, and also there's always gonna be that bell curve. There's a curve where you can't just keep scaling to unless you have a big market. But there's going to be some level of like it's gonna stop at somewhere. Even when you scale ads, anyone who's scaled ads up, 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 and then it just hits a point where it's a diminishing return, right? So the especially in the beginning, like even if somebody's watching this and they're saying like I'm too early in the business to worry about my client fulfillment and
That's
stuff
the
like
number
that.
one objection. Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, like
It's not true.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a stupid objection. So what, like, oh, I don't have enough volume. No, you create the here's what's actually true for them. Why they're saying that. Uh, they don't believe they can go close 100 clients can go through that client acquisition system, and it's actually the opposite. You build the thing first. You have a client success system that can maintain 100 clients, and then you will find a way to close 100 clients. And then also on the back end, because I believe also LTV is like a huge like, a low LTV is like,
It's the number one KPI that you should be solving
yeah,
for. So from a client success perspective, it's LTV to time to value. So you want to
yes,
have a time to value as close to zero as possible while with a maximized lifetime value. And then
yeah,
from a front end, it's LTV to CAC, right? So as
yes,
the higher that your LTV is, the more you'll be able to spend to acquire clients, the more you'll be able to outcompete your competition.
yeah,
Spending doesn't have to come in the form of ads. It can come in the form of labor as well, hiring VAs to do, scaling outbound and all that stuff. And then, as far as like, then we asked the question, well, how does one maximize lifetime value? You sell them more stuff. How do
yes,
you sell them more stuff?
yeah,
You do that on the back end. What is the mechanism by which you sell them more stuff? Client success. How does client success do that? It makes it worth it for them to actually buy the thing.
yes. And what you did, you helped me one with cross sells. So selling them done for you little services and packages I started adding in the course. I haven't
Yep.
made any sales with that, but it got my head kind of like I can sell more shit.
Yep.
Especially when they start getting results, there's more shit I can sell them. So like a result, cool. So hey, buy this. Okay, fine, I'll do it. And it's like a little Pac-Man eating up stuff.
Yep.
You feed them, and so you can't make money unless you make an offer. Like you just can't. Like there's ways that you could be making money that you're not making money on. And so the first thing was one, I increased my prices because I could now. Like I felt like I could. Like that was another thing. I was like charging a little bit of money for like a big result, and like everyone's like, you should raise your prices. You should raise your prices. I'm like, okay, cool. Higher price and then higher cash collected because they're getting the result. Third thing is the back end sales hasn't happened yet, but I'm gonna like I could totally like say, hey, who wants one-on-one coaching, and they would buy it.
I mean,
Like I
it's
could
been
totally,
7 weeks. So like the
yeah.
sales cycle for the back end is the length of the program usually. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe in 2 months, I'll hit that.
Yep.
Um, but I come from a very successful high ticket program where I was the sales guy, and I actually have firsthand experience of the development of a very systematic, low fulfillment, low time result, right? Where it doesn't
Yep.
take a lot of coaching. And then on the back end, we had a very high ticket offer. It was 65K. And so as a sales guy, I got to experience my commissions doubling and tripling and hitting $25,000 in a month with being able to sell a very expensive package and seeing all the people in the front end program buying at like 30-40% of them like enrolling into this back end thing. I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do, right? So I didn't have the limiting belief around like you should have a leverage in your uh fulfillment and you should have a back end thing, because I started seeing our LTV becoming, what was it, 75 to $80,000, right? And I also saw people go from 10,000 a month to 100,000 a month and then pay for something that was 65K. And I'm like, oh, like you can make a lot of money on one person as long as you offer them value.
Yep.
Like it's also like Alex Hormozzi's experience of like, as long like if somebody will, it's a very kind of like poverty type of a belief to believe that somebody like like they're losing money by investing with you. right? So like, it was Alex Hormozzi's dad or something that was like, "How or is it legal to charge them that much?"
Yep.
And he's like, "It would be illegal if I didn't get value out of it." Like, but they're putting in 65K to make what 120, 300 something K a month. That makes sense.
Yep.
So like it's an investment, right? So it's not illegal. It's not even like that's an interesting way that people think. So like get them the result. If you can trust your ability to get them the result, then you can sell them something on the back end and they will 100% buy. That's the fastest way to make money. And
And
also
going
that's what
back
I
to the
told my sales
referrals,
guy.
right? So like how what we had a master class in the mastermind on creating offers, basically creating a grand slam offer for your referral. Actually,
Yeah.
like what most people do, right, is they offer $1,000 to $2,000 referral commission for sending referrals. The process to actually like deliver the referrals as well as typically like there's not a lot of instruction there. It's not typically tracked, and the person who is being referred to the program doesn't ever really receive anything in a lot of cases. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of room for growth in the industry to improve referrals across the board. There are nuances. And I will say this, there are specific niches where one's ability to refer other clients is going to be quite limited.
Mm.
A niche where that's an example is if if who you would refer to this program is your direct competition, you don't have the incentive to get them to join. And
Mm.
so the likelihood that they do, and like basically if they and this depends on their mindset and their belief system, of course, right? But if they believe that setting their competition to you is going to make them less money,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably not going to get referrals at the degree that you could say in like a fitness program that is, you know, female led and it's really nested into a community where
Yeah.
it's this, like you would really be able to squeeze the juice out of that. So I
Because
will
there's
say,
something, let me cut you off. There's something in the
yeah,
marketing space where a lot of times marketers are joining programs to take the information and give it to their clients.
correct. Yeah. And
Yeah.
fuck, dude, I have had that happen so much in the past year and a half. Uh, you know what? For the record, all of them have failed.
Yeah.
So, like,
They're doing the opposite of what you should be doing, is doing the opposite direction of the competition.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good when people do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it really doesn't, but it's more so just disappointing actually because of what it means,
Yeah.
less so like what it takes away from me or you or whatever.
Mhm.
But anyways, so your referral program, how have you adjusted that since the call that we had on that?
Haven't done it yet, but I did increase how much I pay. So I brought it to 10%, but something that you brought up was that a client in your program did, like, it was just bonuses and like what they would really get, and
Yep.
like there's ways to kind of motivate them, and I realized they don't care about the money even if they're like need money. Like if they really don't care.
Yeah, so we can
So
tie it
they
back to what we talked about earlier too, right? So like we talked about essentially like in the appointment setting process being kind of sort of like a bit of like a social savant is one way that you've articulated it, right? A cool guy that's actually funny and someone that you would want to talk to and be friends with.
Yeah.
Now, if you do become friends with one of those guys and let's say we're going out, we're going to a party, right? And you used to live here in St. Pete. Let's just say theoretical example, you got invited to this mansion party on Snell Isle. We're both single. There's going to be a ton of girls there. There's not that many
Yeah.
dudes that are showing up. There's like this famous DJ that's going to be there. Exclusive invite only party. You can only bring one friend
Yeah.
and you chose me to come with you, right? And
Yeah.
so, what would my perception of you be if we go to that party and it's sick and we make these connections, we have fun, whatever happens there stays at the party, whatever.
Yeah.
But like it's an amazing experience, right? It's like my perception of you is going to increase massively. It builds trust. It's going to deepen our friendship just as friends.
Yeah.
But like you are the plug, you're the source for that. You hooked me up with this experience. And so like the way we want to be able to replicate that dynamic for our coaching program. Now there's a lot of prerequisites that come with that, right? I describe this as like a really high value experience, an exclusive experience. There's urgency, there's scarcity, there's only one invite, it's only happening
Yeah,
tonight,
yeah.
right? All these things that we know that create value, engineering a high value client experience allows us to facilitate that perception of our own
Hmm.
program. And so, what we want to do is we create a referral system that rewards not just the person who is referring, but the person who receives the referral. And
Yes.
so, to say it simply, the client who is now going to join the program from the referral needs to receive something exclusive because they got it or because they were referred. And that thing that they're receiving needs to be extremely valuable. Nobody else can get it, genuinely exclusive. And they only got it because their friend referred them to the program. That's the incentive that the friend has to be able to actually send the referral. If they have the confidence that the client experience is high value and trustworthy, they're going to actually do that. Plus, they get the cash, right? That's just like on a high level, kind of
Sure.
medium depth of how to do it. But there's so much more juice to squeeze than just that. Like you can really take this very far. But even just doing one of those things is
Well,
you
it's all
know,
it's like good affiliate programs, right?
yes.
Like or a good network marketing business.
Yep.
Those are it has community elements where you don't just invite everyone into the community because it's a community. Like we're looking for the right people in the community. If like we're adding to our army that we're building, it's the right people in the community and it creates a good like experience, right? So it's like the party. Like I can't just invite anyone to the party. Like I'm not gonna invite my friend who has a wife. You know, I'm not
Yep.
like there's a fit, right? And so the first thing was like, you want like an archetype of who is it that you invite to the party. But the big thing that comes to mind was so there's like a reactive business owner and then there's a proactive business owner. So when I build a sales process, the way I would build a sales process is I'm looking for what are the exact answers I would want from somebody and then what is the best question that gives me the highest likelihood of getting that answer out of somebody, right? And
Yep.
so what I'm doing is I already knew what was going to happen on the sales call. I knew how I was going to ask the questions. I knew what like I created the path first and then I went through the process. Somebody who just jumps on sales calls randomly and just like, all right, well, I'm just going to ask this. I feel like asking this today. No. Same with your referral program and same with the fulfillment. Like what we're doing is we're carving out the path they're going to walk, creating the way that they're going to walk it, and then you're going to make sure they walk it. It's the same with the sales. That's how a business is built. The whole like random fucking gonna go coach today, doing a mastermind tomorrow. I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna ask for a referral because I felt like it. That's the big thing that you got me out of was like I'm going to go create a predictable it's a project in itself. Like it's not just I feel like asking for a referral. No, I'm going to create a project to basically maximize referrals. I'm
Yep.
going to go create a project to maximize back end sales. I'm going to create a project to maximize this thing, right? And so I need to fully fucking maximize it. And if I maximize it, then it will happen. Okay, cool. It will happen. I'm not worried about it. So, like that's kind of like the whole social savant thing is the social savant has a plan. If they go to the party, they know how they're going to make their circuit. They know who they're going to talk to first. They know who they're looking for. They know that I'm not going to go try to talk to everybody. I'm going to try to talk to the guy who knows everybody. Then I get introductions to everybody. It's a way of thinking. It's a strategic way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think
So yeah.
the one of the things that um yeah, one of the objections that I've received from people is when they hear all this stuff, it sounds like the ability to be able to be natural and kind of customize an experience for, a lead in a marketing or a sales process or a client in a client success process actually goes down and you're kind of shoving them through like this cookie cutter templated experience. It's actually the exact opposite. So the more structure, more optimized structure
Hmm.
that you have, it gives you the ability to freestyle and create way more space because you are proactive and you're leading.
Yeah.
And that customization goes to where it actually matters, which is, how we've talked about in your own client experience, allows me to be able to pinpoint a simple, real solution that actually works, right? And so it might sound like it's a lot, And it can be depending on the complexity in the business to simplify things. But once they do become simple, the workflow and the experience of running the business is fun again. You maximize your profit, you maximize your purpose, and maximize your peace. And that's ultimately what people want, from their business, at least largely.
And
Um,
also, I work 3 days a week.
oh yeah, I mean, I forgot about that. Yeah, you work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically, it was the ultimate. I said I want to hit 100,000 a month working 3 days a week. That was the target you and I set.
Yep.
Well, here I am.
Yep. And we did that in 3 weeks. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. All right, Dylan, what is the white rabbit method?
All right, let me share. The White Rabbit method is so White Rabbit method came by accident. We were on a sales team meeting, me and my setter. It was just me and a setter and a VA, right? So um everyone here probably has experienced you get in your head and you overthink your DMs and you want to go send a DM and you're like, what specifically should I say? And oh, if I say that, it's gonna upset people and I don't want to get rejected. So you play it safe. And what I noticed is everyone plays it safe. So if you've even been on LinkedIn, you go on LinkedIn and everyone's saying the exact same thing because it's the safety zone. I don't know what scientific name there is for that. I know you probably know there's like this kind of like bell curve area where everyone kind of conforms and they say good to connect, good to connect, good to connect, good to connect. And I basically was trying to prove a point to my team. And I said, guys, you literally you literally can't say anything wrong. Like we like no one's gonna hurt you. And so I said, I don't know, I might have messaged somebody like potato. And then I asked somebody like, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized zombies, or would you rather fight a zombie-sized duck? And I'm just getting into these really crazy conversations with people, but like, that's a good question. I want to fight some ducks, like, and I'm like getting into it, and they're like blown away. They're like, "Wow, I can't freaking believe that you said that. Like, that's so." And it worked, and I was like a big kind of mental limiting belief lifted. Then my lead setter kind of takes this and she just starts creating the scripting. And her and someone like sat down and they just started like working on the scripting and she comes it actually came from she kind of felt like pressured into a script that I was forcing. And I said, you know what? I want you to take over. Like let her just grab like what she's seen and created this scripting. And basically, what she built was a way to use kind of these crazy openers and attach them to a conversation topic that has to do with the thing that we help them with. And then basically shorten the conversation by asking a very, very good qualification question that basically has them say, yes, I have a problem, or no, I don't have a problem, and we could start removing lots of wasted time with conversations that weren't going anywhere. And really, a team member that I allowed the freedom to innovate took kind of this crazy experience that we both had together, where I was just kind of trying to prove a point and turned it into a method. And what that's resulted is in just a lot of really good conversations, higher show rates, open rate of like 30 or a conversation rate of like 30 plus percent. And then we just gave this to our clients and they're getting the same results. So it's a essentially the meaning of it is a non sequitur. It's essentially the storyline of one of these crazy, wicked Alice in Wonderland type of movies. And in Alice in Wonderland, the way they keep your attention is nothing makes sense. And rabbits are running down tunnels, and there's umbrellas, and there's a doorknob that's alive, and uh, basically it keeps the interest and the emotional roller coaster, which what it does is it removes the need to add time into your funnel. And what it did was it cut our sales cycle in half to where you don't need triage calls, you don't need marketing, you don't need this because it takes care of the emotional element, which emotions what emotions do is when you have an emotional high and an emotional low and then an emotional high, you the person who took you on that emotional roller coaster, you feel like you've known them for a long time and trust is built. And right there is what cracked the code for us, to where that cracked the code for outbound, to where you don't need to nurture for years. You just need a good do it right the first time type process, and resulted in a lot of sales.
Nice. And so let's get clear about how you're specifically using the White Rabbit method in your own acquisition process, right? So you're reaching out to people that have no idea who you are. You don't have a personal brand that's established, so they wouldn't have heard of you unless they're, really involved in the high ticket sales space and knew you from your previous sales positions or anything like that. And so you're basically picking up random strangers off the street of the internet, essentially sending
Yeah.
6 to 8 messages to them, and then they get on a sales call and then you close them.
Yeah.
So how and why is the White Rabbit method this effective in building trust compared to what everybody else is doing?
Um, yeah, so I mean, and I'm not gonna pretend like I don't have like I'm good at sales, so I can like my conversions are naturally gonna be higher. But even then, like I still struggle with cold our audience. So it was like my like mission to basically solve the cold audience problem, to where I don't want to wait until my Facebook group is huge and I have to go do 5-day challenges. I don't want to do webinars. Like I've always wanted to like, how do we just send a DM, ask the right questions in the right order to where it unlocks something in them, and then get them to a call and they buy on the first call. That's like the ideal, because there's no ad spend, there's no budgeting, there's no need to dance around on TikToks and Reels. Like there's no need for a lot of this complexity in the business. And so what we essentially built was, and then I'm actually going to record a YouTube video on this, the world's simplest funnel. Because everyone knows like outreach, everyone thinks of like freelancers that make like 5 to 10,000 a month, and they do it all with cold outreach, and then they got to go run ads to go become an agency. Well, I want to like show that you can really scale with outreach, but what has to happen is the numbers need to be efficient, because you need enough call volume with the outreach to be able to book. So the big problem that everybody has is they don't when they go really direct, they're basically in pitch slap territory. It's like a bell curve. So on these ends, it's very bad numbers. So pitch slap, bad numbers, because your show rate will drop. You'll get a bunch of yeses, but it's just there's not enough buy-in. There's not enough emotional buy-in from somebody. On this end, you can go rapport building and relationship building. And this is like there's two schools of thought in the high ticket space. And you got these like master networkers, who are apparently they just I'm referral based. I just like kind of check my DMs while I take a shit in the morning, and that's my like, and they're like braggadocious about it, and like I don't do outreach, man. I'm really into the relationship, man. You know,
Yep.
virtue signaling about it and stuff. And then you got these guys that are like, I don't care, just like numbers, 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 and they have to send 1,000 DMs to get one booked call. So, so either way, you're spending way too much time to get no result, and that's the main struggle. And what I found was it's in the middle. It's a little bit of both. And the way that you shorten it is you add in humor. It's gotta be it if you what happens is you can't be on guard, and you can't have resistance, and you can't be angry while you're laughing. So the way that a comedy script writer would think about scripting a DM conversation is like this: is how do I get in, ask the hard to ask questions at the time that they're laughing. So you ask a question that does makes no sense, that's funny, and that breaks the pattern. So your open rate is high. All right, you ask something that's totally funny, totally wacky, off the wall, and a little bit risky, right? So like we have a you and I both share a client who's in porn addiction, right? Recovery. And here's the message I told him to send. I said, knock knock, Fapaholics Anonymous. It's as an intervention. And now
That's a good one.
they're both laughing about this really sore subject.
Yep.
This is an intervention. And then the guy's like, "You caught me." And then or like somebody maybe is being boring and you're supposed to, I'm like, you're supposed to say who's there, right? And so it just lightens the mood. And then you say, "Okay, cool. Now that the ice is broken and like we're both agreed to an intervention, I have a very important question to ask you." He's like, "Yeah, what is it?" Uh, would you say that like what's your biggest challenge when it comes to whatever, and you can just get into the sales questions a lot easier because the guy basically built instant rapport with you. All right.
With one
And
message.
with one message. Right. And so it does a lot of heavy lifting that and because what's happening is we're told to build rapport, but we don't actually really understand what rapport is. It's basically meeting somebody's reality. Where is someone's reality at? And what is giving value? What people think giving value is, the coach consultant world is like, let me just pump them full of lead magnets. Let me just send like YouTube videos and like scripts and documents. And the guy, that's not value to him. The first thing to establish a conversation, the first piece of value is like a good vibe. That's all anyone really wants, is like some really good vibe and laughing. Like, okay, cool, you made me laugh. Now, okay, you got my attention. What are we gonna do? And that's like how 90% of our conversations go. Then we say, cool, well, now that I have your attention, and we're joking the whole way through. And I've even taken it a step further where I'm joking while I'm closing them, right? Like I'm making jokes while they're like, dude, you're like keep ripping these like one-liners, and I'm like, cool, well, what's your credit card? And then we're just closing because it's one, it's rare, and two, it's like that's what people want. But three, the rapport isn't let me just get to talk about the weather for 30 years, because you're actually taking value, you're taking somebody's time. And when you can be a little direct while being funny at the same time, you can get in quick. And you can just say get a yes or no, and you don't have to waste their time. And two, you kind of share value. So you don't waste their time. And then if they're interested, they can now say yes, because you're not weird. The reason why they don't want to be interested and let you ask them questions is because you essentially haven't shown that you have kind of like the social head on your shoulders a little bit, right? You can kind of showcase that you get it, and then because you get it, they're more open to that kind of nice, smooth conversation where you can ask them questions, and they're a little more open to being more sensitive with you and sharing more with you because you just get it. You get the whole thing. You get the whole
People,
thing.
yeah, I mean, people like people that they think are cool. And when
Yeah.
you are able to articulate yourself in a way online that communicates that you are a normal person who is funny and understands kind of the song and dance of what's going on here, and you're breaking through the noise, it builds that trust, right? And that trust is really the core mechanism that gets someone to make decisions further down your funnel. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that I found to be super interesting about the White Rabbit method is it's a contrarian approach to getting calls booked, from what everyone else is doing. Exactly as you said, nice to connect, or the Instagram version of that is, are you here for the content or to help grow your business? Everyone's
Yeah.
copying the whole Dan Martell thing. And this whole idea of like signal to noise, right? When you start copying what everybody else is doing, you become noise, and the brain automatically tunes that out. And what you've really intelligently been able to do by leveraging, these non-secular, openers is it's a pattern interrupt, exactly as you said. But what I found is that the most impressive thing about it is there is like a perceived randomness to it,
Mhm.
but exactly as you mentioned in the example with our mutual client, that opener is also contextualized to what the next question is going to be, and that's really where the true unlock is if you can actually get those questions to be articulated in such a way that it sets you up for the rest of the conversation. And so, it's really like just mechanically just thinking about like what would need to be true in order for you to send 1,000 DMs and only get one reply. Either you're landing in the
Mm.
spam folder or you're spam inside of the person's mind, which is actually what's happening in most of the cases. And so, when you're able to leverage, what you've put together, it allows you to rise above what everyone else is doing. And even that alone puts you in a different category unconsciously in the receiver's mind, which, down the line sets you up for success to pitch your offer in a higher perceived value. Thus, once you have that trust and that perceived value, the likelihood that they carry forward is much higher. And so, you've really been able to systematize this whole process very effectively. What has that been able to do for your clients?
Yeah, so well, one thing I've noticed, so there's always a mindset element and a mechanical element in almost every coaching program. I would say it's almost always 90%. We were talking about this earlier, 90% mindset, right? And then it's like 10% uh like application. So I'd say 99% of coaches would actually double, triple, quadruple their business if they just did more sales activities. They all know it. And so they do a productive procrastination of building funnels, recording videos, doing landing pages, writing copy, email, marketing. Like, fuck, there's an infinite number of things that you could do that look like work. You look at the bank account, ain't working, man. So, income producing activities will increase the size of the business. Like, just will. It just will. Like, period. End of story. So, what happens is there's a resistance to the most critical tasks in the business: DMing and sales calls. So now we live in a world where, can you just get AI to DM and close my deals? Can we just get AI to, do we have a chat closing process to where you could just chat close them? Is there a landing page? Like, now the laziness in sales is actually at a, like, I've never seen it as so high. Like, I've actually never seen such an entitled culture, right? And that's my little tangent there, but it you if you could just do it is the whole point. If you could just do it. So what is allowed is, every time you do like this scripting and you use this, and now we have AI automations that go out and like kind of get it started. But there is an element of like, okay, it's a new game. You got to play ball a little bit. It's made it way more fun. I would just say, like, the number one reason we've grown and like my clients are growing is because they're actually having fun again. And it's not like, everyone knows when you are given a script and these are things that you wouldn't say. Naturally, you would never say that in a conversation. If you were in person with somebody, you would feel very weird. The fact that you feel weird is the reason why you resist it. So you're resisting your nature, essentially. You're resisting your human nature, and your human nature is to connect with people. But these scripts that are copy pasted and sent out en masse, it's against your human nature. And so I noticed that in the industry. One, the scripts have been getting diluted because there's one big coaching program giving away the same script to all the coaches. Well, what is going to happen? It's going to get diluted. It's going to become a script cannibalism, and it's going to stop working. So what we do when a client joins us is we customize the whole scripting process with them, and we creatively create openers, ways to handle the conversation, and a whole pathway to take them through. Where what happens is, as soon as you get a good reaction and you get multiple good reactions, you're like, oh, this is going to be fun, as long as the person is like a normal fun person, like most, and I can imagine most people watching this is like, I really would like to actually have a little bit more fun in my business.
I mean, it's
And
one of the things that keeps
yeah,
people from not investing further is because it just doesn't feel good. And then you get the response from people that are like, stop being a pussy, basically. This is what work feels like. Just, get into
yeah,
the grind. But you do that after a while and it never ends. And you think there's got to be some way. Maybe it's not going to be like this blissful party 100% of the time, but it can at least feel pretty
yeah,
good, like a little bit more fun. You can fuck around a little bit and like, there's some room to breathe and freestyle.
yeah,
And, that's funnily enough, I mean, that's where innovation and creativity come from, is that space and that allowance to be something out like that's outside the box. And so I think, it's been what's really interesting to me is the way that you've been able to approach a this problem and creating a solution that, by the very nature of applying the solution, it automatically creates that mindset frame that is, useful to actually get some momentum here, which it makes it fun.
So like I'm the guy at the party that's not socially intelligent, but I said the funny thing, so
Yep.
everyone likes me all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that protects your profitability. And what I've really come to understand over the past, been in the industry for 6 years now. Really, there's been a huge shift in the past year and a half specifically. Of course, AI has accelerated this a lot. You hear a lot of people talking about this trust deficit in the industry where nobody trusts each other, people don't trust themselves,
I
and
wonder
things
why.
have yeah, because it's all bullshit. That's why. And so, what we've talked about, one of the through lines of the conversation so far is being and telling the truth. That's number one, of course. And then number two is doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. You talked about how
Mhm.
there's the one script that everyone's using. How about you just do literally the actual inverse of what's recommended there and see what happens. And you've been able to identify a number of problems in the kind of popular way that people do appointment setting, and you've done the inverse of all of them, and putting it all together has created this unique solution that actually works, right? And so it's really cool.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's also based in principles as well, which is also what's nice about it is it'll last for a very long time. Um,
Yeah.
so let's talk about, what that's done specifically as far as the results go for your clients that have applied this. 'Cause I know, you've been sharing the wins channel. There's been a few clients that have had some pretty big wins recently.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all sales process, right? It's all sales process driven. So like from we've actually even extended it into the actual conversion. So what I've found is the open is your first impression,
Yep.
which sets the stage for how the sales call is going to go.
Yep.
So basically, so one client recently, we're going to do a case study on my YouTube channel at some point. He joined. Now, granted, he had a good Facebook group, like a pretty like sizable, good audience in the group, well maintained, which helps. But he jumped in and he did his biggest month, $120,000 cash month. Um, Now more kind of like on
And
like
where was he
starter
before? Like, how much was he bringing in from that group
50 to
before?
70.
Okay.
About 50 to 70, one setter and just a good email list. So
Nice.
um but he went and did a pretty big campaign, and now I haven't checked in on him because we did a big follow-up campaign on the whole group, so we'll see how it goes. um but yeah, good scripting, good questions led to a good amount of sales. So, and that's cash. I don't know what he did in revenue, but another client. So the biggest thing is like the thing that's going to kill your outbound is going to be your response rate, and a response that is a positive response that's going to lead to a conversation, which in our program we track as a conversation rate. So more nerd numbers was like your 30% to 50% response rates. That's what our clients um, like normally like on average get.
Which is
And then
unheard of, by the way. It's usually less than, it's like 1 to 5% for outbound. So,
yes, yep. And then for the conversations that drop off because of like there's no hooks or open loops or mystery in the conversation.
yep.
So what the non sequitur does is like they want to enjoy a conversation. Everyone does. And what this is doing is it's showing that you're unpredictable. So there's gonna be something that they want to know. So what we'll do is we'll say, "Mind if I ask you a quick question?" After I just said like, "How many zombies do you want to fight?" Like they're like, "I gotta know what he's gonna ask me here." Like, because what is happening in sales conversations is they always, you've probably seen it in your DMs or just anybody you've seen any DMs that have anything to do with sales. If you have any sort of, you can't say anything without somebody knowing what's about to happen. And they all say, I know what's coming. I know you're about to pitch me. I know what you're asking me these questions for a reason. Where are you leading this? And they all say I know what's coming because they're right. Like I believe that people aren't stupid and marketing kind of makes people stupid. Like sometimes marketing and some of these sales processes are like, man, I because I sell to a sophisticated market as you do you. Like coaches, business coaches, sales coaches, like just coaches in general are have all bought programs. They sell a program. They're using the same sales processes that we're using. So, yeah, I could either go into another market and keep the dumbed down sales processes and do very well, or I can keep maintaining and serving this market that I care a lot about. Right. And but you got to understand the level of sophistication. Your processes need to adapt that level of sophistication. And so, a good sales process should do that. Now, the open isn't a sales process; it's a socializing process. It's a way to it's basically creating a procedure around random socializing. And socializing has a degree of randomity, but it's random in terms of the things you say, but it's a formula in the structure and the process in which you go about it, and it always leads the same way. So when we socialize, when we learn, I have a background in uh, social skills and like learning that. I spent a lot of time learning it because I was very bad at it, and I always wondered why. How come I can't be fucking direct? How come I, how come I can't just say what my offer is? And there's a lot of like flimsy straw man theories in the market about how you should approach people. And you see it everywhere. Everyone wants to talk about how you're supposed to approach people, but there's not a lot of like really truly tested methods out there that nobody's sending tens of thousands of DMs. We're sending like probably 4 to 7 thousand a month DMs, like using this process, and we're doing filling calendars with it. So that's how a process has been tested and truly proven. And before business, I went out and tested pickup lines. Like I wanted to know if those did they work. How do you get someone's attention? How do you get a stranger to pay attention to you on the street? Well, there's a formula to it, and there's like a degree of like you got to kind of have a little bit of unpredictability, but not so unpredictable that they're uncomfortable around you. And then you got to build comfort. And then once you have that, then you have the right to ask a little bit more personal questions. And then you get into the sales call, which is your first date, right? And that's kind of the front end. And then anybody who's a setter should have that like social kind of like, I got to be able to go and talk to anybody anywhere. And if you can turn any stranger into a client, you're in good shape. Now you asked about my clients. That's the whole key thing is they're having more fun. Their open rates are 30 to 50%. And then I brought up, of course, my biggest, fattest case study I could, so why not? But an average client is actually getting back into the sales game and getting calls on the calendar, right? And that's really where, if you're gonna look at any needle moving activity of anything that you should be doing, is like, yeah, there's all this cool stuff you could do and ads and this and that. They're really, if you can't have a baseline of being able to go look someone, go grab somebody off the internet, have a conversation, book them on a call and close them, your fundamentals are so out. And no new fancy advanced technique is going to solve that problem. So you got to have your fundamentals in. You have to have a foundation to where ads shut off, emails ban you, your fucking SMS is out, like everything's gone. Can you just pick up your phone and go close some deals? If you can't do that, you're broken. You got a broken business.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's at like the core baseline level of the foundations. And I think that's one of the things that's so powerful with what you're helping people implement is that once this is solved, if you did want to build on top of that and actually scale, you can do that from a place of strength and actual sustainability. Because like you said, if shit hits the fan, if platforms ban you, algorithms change, credit cards, bank accounts get shut down, whatever, at least you would be able to just get back into your DMs and start closing some deals. So I do want to talk about the work that we've done together, but I'm more curious right now. We've talked a lot about like some sacred cows or like these core beliefs that the industry has that you don't believe in. What are some other like what are some other things that people fundamentally believe are not just true in this kind of like superficial way? They think it is a requirement that you have to do this particular thing or else you won't be able to scale your business. What are some of those things that you're noticing right now that you fundamentally disagree with, and not just disagree, but have proven are not true
Yeah, that we're
objectively?
in a trust recession.
Okay,
Like,
let's talk about that.
yeah, so that's what marketers have kind of grabbed, packaged up, and put out there. And I've even done it too. I even say, we're in a trust recession because it's like oh no, I gotta go adapt. Right? It's like the
Yeah.
AI, like, I gotta adapt or die. Right? Well, who fucking said that? Like, some guru told you that. You look. One thing I believe is something is I don't believe authorities. I go and look for myself. Right? And so what I've had in my life, a lot of in my life, is it's an authority tells me something. I blindly believe it and get my ass kicked. Until what I like to do is go do it. I want to go like look for myself, eat the forbidden fruit. I will handle the consequences myself. If I have a consequence, I will deal with it myself. But I'm gonna go do it and test it out. And I'm also like, this didn't work for me a long time ago, and now I just run ads and make money on my method. No, like that's how I'm building my business, right? Is I'm actively testing and then giving my clients like what we're doing. Um, and I'm taking all the risk, right? So I'm taking all the risk. So the whole like trust recession thing, I don't believe it because I went out and closed 56% of cold leads with one DM conversation and one call. Oh, with a 10K price point.
With
7 to 10.
hardly any personal brand, hardly any content, no ads, no
Yep.
email, sequence, none of that shit. Is literally just like 8 messages on Facebook to
Yes.
strangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do that because I fundamentally believe like it's kind of the whole when it's just economics, right? So things go up and things go down. And so when the tide goes out, you'll see who's swimming naked. And so what happened was there's a big surge of the market, there's a lot of money flowing around, and it became easy. And then everyone blindly believed that they're skilled. Well, when fucking you're dealing with cold leads, you actually have to be skilled.
So is it a
It's
trust deficit or a skill deficit?
it's a skill deficit. It's always a skill deficit. That's why, some of the best salespeople in the world that actually build their own business, like your Cole Gordons, your Matt Ryders, your Jeremy Miners, their businesses are 8 figures, and or nine, and they're really high 8, 9 figures, and like they're scaled, like because they're really good at communicating with people, and they have a fundamental skill set that everyone needs to have. If you're going to run a business, I believe you should have had some sales experience or some like people experience, right? For me, I had the privilege of selling in businesses, right? And I got to know like, well, what is it actually? I just took raw sales experience and brought it into business because I got to use someone else's business as a playground. I actually review a lot of calls for my clients. Just your general coach who's never sold in their life, and they think that if like a sales process is connect, rapport, connect, transition, uh, yeah, basically irresistible offer. Like they think that's a sales process. Like, and and I've reviewed some of these calls, and I'm just like, I don't know how anyone makes money. I don't know how anyone does anything like with that like type of sales call. My sales call is like it's there's a tonalities, there's your inflections, there's your like knowing what questions to ask, how to pick apart a problem, give them a revelation with good questions, how to like tell someone they have a problem, but have them come to their own conclusion about that with good questions. That takes a lot of skill in knowing where you're going to end up with that track of questions, right? And so I see like some of these businesses, I'm like, how did you do anything? Like you either have to rely heavily on marketing or you have to rely heavily on brand and audience. And like the coaches that are like no brand, no audience, and no sales skill, and no marketing, and no budget, you got one option. And what is that one option? You got to
You got to
know.
send some messages, and
You,
you got to know how to talk to people.
you gotta, you gotta, and like that's why. And then your profit is way higher if you can sell.
Yeah, it's
Your
free.
profit margins are free. It's a,
Yeah, it's
you have no
free.
expenses. It's
Yeah,
just
so
commissions.
I think there is actually a trust. I don't want to say recession. I think there's a trust deficit. I don't think it's in the market itself, though. I think people's trust deficit is in themselves. And I think what you've articulated about how there's been this surge of easy money that's come in and this kind of illusion of experience and skill and also this projected belief that it's always going to be that way. And then when, the tide went out, and as you say, people are swimming naked, you can see kind of who's, actually
Who's a
able to
sucker?
swim. Yeah, and what it comes down to is like the lack of trust. We've actually had a really powerful breakthrough coaching call together talking about this specifically. Um, and there's a lot of factors that go into play with it, but in the context of our conversation now, it's that lack of skill. It's like if you know for certain deep down inside that you are not good enough from a skill-based perspective to be able to hit this goal, there is going to be a lack of trust there. And especially if there's a lack of follow through in regards to you keeping promises to yourself, when you couple those two things together, that's really where stagnation really starts to root itself. And that's what gets people stuck
Yeah.
is that it's like cement. And then, getting people to break out of that, it's difficult at first, right? But what it looks like specifically, like in the case of your clients, right? They send 1,000 messages, let's say from those 1,000 with the numbers that you've discussed, they could book realistically 100 sales calls, like without a doubt. They close 10% of those at a 10K program. You just made $100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it's like, and then the mind understands, oh, like I only had to send 1,000 messages. That's 10 to 20 days worth of work, and I made $100,000. If I do this again,
Yeah.
will I likely get the same? And that stacks, and then the trust starts to build, and then we get real momentum, right?
That's
So
data. Yeah. People don't know
yeah,
data either. They don't track. And they wonder why. Like basically, it was the whole recession thing. Like the whole like tide went out. You got a lot of people with a lot of lack of data because they didn't track all their sales numbers. Then they just were like flying high, making money easily on like high ticket programs for like how to fucking wipe your ass and like how to
yep,
like I did a chakra fucking program and made $20,000 a month on it. And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, what do you got to do again to repeat the process? And one thing in our program is we build out a robust tracking system, like a very, very detailed tracking system for our clients so that we know what you need to do and are your numbers scalable? And if you see that, you don't need to go buy a coach to teach you how to remove your limiting beliefs. You just can look at numbers, and your numbers will say 100 DMs equal one sale. So if I do 100 DMs a day times 5 days a week, it's 5 sales at 10,000. Wait, that's 50,000 a week? Oh.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing before we go, I just want to commend you as being like a really, really enjoyable client to work with. I mean, you said it before, but you just did what you were supposed to do. I didn't have to over explain things. I didn't have to force you to do things. Like you filled out your onboarding form immediately. You show up to the group calls when you're able to. You reply to messages. You are very interactive in the community. You give back. I mean, you completely give away the farm and all the stuff that you have to everyone in the program. Um, Everyone, loves and appreciates your presence in the community. I do as well. It's just been a supreme honor, and we're like barely even got started. So I just want to thank you for the way that you've consciously decided to show up. It's a decision that you make.
Mhm.
It's recognized, so thank you for that. Also, the one thing that I also really appreciate as well is that, so it's a core value of mine. I really only have two. One being tell the truth, Two, play your own game. Like it's as simple as that. And so like you truly play your own game. We've talked about how you use inversion principles and you're able to just freestyle and do things the way that you actually want to do them. And it is attractive for people to want to work with someone like that. And yeah, it's been cool and it's been fun. So want to thank you for that. Now, before we sign off here, for anyone that's made it this way to the end of the video here. This has been a long video. It's been a few hours.
Oh wow,
Um,
that
I
flew
want
by.
yeah, so I want to be sure that there's a lot of stuff they can walk away with, of course, but I want to be sure that whoever's watching this right now gets something for being here at the end. And so for anyone that's listening to this right now and they're in a similar position to where you were at, before
Mm.
we decided to work together, what's one thing that you would communicate to them to ensure that they actually achieve their goal that they're trying to accomplish?
So like in a bad position, like a hard position, or just kind of chugging along and
Whatever
being fine.
direction you want to take it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Something I want to communicate to them.
Let's say it like this. What would you say to yourself if you could go back in time and you could give yourself one piece of tactical advice that would accelerate the process?
Well, I always go back to spiritual principles. If like things aren't going your way, it's because you're doing something to someone else that you wouldn't want done to you. And like there's some sort of
You could be doing
like
it to yourself as well.
and you could be doing it to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's something like you're gonna get rewarded in this game, like good, like heavily. Like the whole universe is a game, and you're doing something you gotta handle, right? And so everyone always knows like, okay, I gotta go fucking like I gotta be this way, I gotta stop being this way, I gotta stop doing that. And like it's a very simple thing. Like for example, your client who just needed to leave the job. Like you're gonna feel better. You gotta take the leap. And you gotta make a decision. And so like you were saying with me, is like I just decided I'm gonna do it this time. I'm gonna hit 100,000. And the right things started kind of pulling into me, right? And so
Yep.
you are you're a spirit, right? You're a spiritual being, and you have the ability to pull. And so I think if you really like, I would say the reason to work with you is to really give a good client experience where you can sell and you can get a very, very high success rate in your program so that you don't become another marketer who sells a program that doesn't get results and now is like looped into all these like scammers, and then you feel like you're a scammer. Because that's where I was like I actually had a couple bad client experiences. I started telling myself, started believing that I was a bad guy, and I realized I'm like, I gotta go help fucking people. Like I gotta go fucking give good value to people. And I just went all in and just built a really fucking good program. So like, and I feel great about myself, right? And I have a because it's like a when you build a good program, it's like a big planet, and it pulls in moons and it pulls in an asteroid belt and it fixes everything, fixes the whole business, it fixes your whole game. Like everything is getting pulled to you. And just what happens is like you get into a grind mode trying to like go make sales, and you're fighting yourself, you're fighting the clients, you're fighting prospects, you're losing track of your client base. Sometimes I still get anxiety where I'm like, oh, I gotta go check in on clients. I'm like, wait a second, I have a pipeline, they're all fine, they're all in the right place. And it's like, oh, that feels good. That I built it all just first, and then it feels good, everything's taken care of, they're all getting results. It's kind of like I don't gotta, and I got 45 clients. Like I got a lot of people to watch,
Yep.
So if you're actually gonna want to, like, if you're gonna set a target for 100K a month, like build the business that can make 100K a month. You know. But what I would give to somebody is I would say just basically give like the business you build. If you pour love into it, it will produce money. That's it. It's very, very simple. You got to give love, you will receive love. You give money, you'll receive money. Everything that you're putting out, you're getting right back to you. And if you just put out better shit, you'd probably pull in better shit. You'll be better. Things will go better. And then the second thing is like you're not a bad person. Like identifying with the mistakes is what's bad. You're not. So what I did was I had a bad client experience. I'm a scammer. That's not a good place to be. I felt like a bad person. I was getting on calls and I was like, I felt bad. But no, I had a bad client experience because I made a mistake. I'm going to fix it because I'm a good person. And I think that's the number one reason why you should fix your shit and you should join with Alex and you should trust yourself because you're not a bad person. You got to see the rightness in yourself. And so what I would say is like basically beating yourself up to infinitum and into oblivion is like not a good place to be. That's where I was beating myself to death. And so I would say if you could just you got to love yourself and you love yourself by doing the right actions and then finding the rightness. What did you do right in your life? Why did you get into this business? Why did you become a coach? Because there was something before this that was before making money that was like where you were actually a true like master of your craft and you did it for the craft and you didn't do it for the money. That's where I would say find that spot, go in there, and then give yourself permission to go build your business like a piece of art, like a masterpiece that which is like what it deserves. So, yeah, that's what I would tell them.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you for making it this far into the video here. If you want to 10x your business in 3 weeks, just like Dylan did, book a call down below and let's make it happen. Peace.